Okay, so when Bob flipped his coin 10 times, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4 heads. Those were all the heads I got. So it was kind of hard to tell on my computer or calculator screen. But when I scroll through them all, yeah, I only see 4 ones. So, what percent of the time does coin land heads up? Well, let's see. Landed a heads up 4/10 of the time, so 40%. Now, let's say that, so it was, like I said, it was kind of hard to read these numbers. So here's what we can do. Let's say we want to put these numbers in a list. Well, we can get our calculator to do that for us. If I hit the STO button, that stands for store. So if I hit that button, and then I say, okay, I want to put my numbers in list 1, I can hit second, and then 1 to make L1 appear. And now if I hit enter, it'll put all those numbers in list 1 for me. So I can check. If I go stat, edit, and I scroll down, I can see, oh, there we go. There are all my numbers in list 1. Now it's easier to see. Okay. So that's convenient. All right. Now, if Bob flips his coin 20 times, what percent of the time does coin land heads up? All right. Now this is going to be a huge pain. I don't want to look through 20 numbers. So I want to figure out a fast way to do this. Here's what I can do. I'm going to hit randint 0, 1, 20. That will cause my calculator to randomly choose a 0 or 1 20 times. But then I'm going to hit the store button and put that in list 1. So let's do that. So I'm going to hit math, scroll over at probability, scroll down to randint, hit enter. I'm going to do 0, 1, 20, close parentheses. Then I'm going to hit this button here, store, and I want to store it in list 1. There we go. Calculator thinks for a bit, and yay, it did it. Now I can check. I go to list 1, hit stat, go to edit, and there we go. I do indeed have 20 numbers in list 1, so it worked. Great. All right, let's hit second. Okay. So what I have now is I have a list of numbers. They're either 0 or 1, and I have 20 numbers that are either 0 or 1. Well, what if I added up all the numbers in this list? I would just be adding up 1s and 0s. Well, in other words, if I added up all the numbers in this list, I would just end up with a number of 1s. Or in other words, if I just added up all these numbers in this list, I'd be adding up 1s and 0s, I'd get the number of 1s. Well, that's the number of heads. So I can get my calculator to do that for me. So if you hit, let's see, stat, I believe. Oh, that's not right. If you hit second, stat, get the list options, scroll over to math, and scroll down to option 5, sum. You can get your calculator to find the sum of list 1, second L1. Hit enter, and there we go. Calculator did it for me. So I added up all the numbers in list 1 and I got 9. So I must have had 9 1s. So when Bob flipped his coin 20 times, he got 9 heads. So 9 heads in 20 flips means he got heads 45% of the time. Now, let's say Bob flipped his coin 100 times. I want to know what percent of the time did his coin land heads up? So this time I'm going to hit math, go over to probability, go down to randint, and I'm going to do 0, 1, 100. Now I want to put, so that'll flip a coin 100 times. Now I want to store the results in list 1. So I'm going to hit this button here, STO, gives me the arrow, and hit second L1. Now I hit enter. Calculator thinks for a bit, take a while, and there we go. After thinking for a while, yay, it did it. Okay, so now I have 100 flips in list 1. I want to know, well, how many times did I get heads? Well, I'm going to use that same trick. I'm going to add up the list. I'm going to add up the number of ones I got. So I'm going to hit stat. I'm going to hit second, stat, go over to math, go down to sum. Now I'm going to do the sum of L1. I got 47. So Bob flipped the coin 47 times, or Bob flipped the coin 100 times and he got heads 47 times. So 47 out of 100 gives you 47%. And so remember the command we did rand int 0, 1, 100. We stored that in list 1, and then we did sum of list 1. All right. Now, if Bob flips his coin 999 times, what percent of the time did his coin land heads up? Now, I chose 999 because it turns out you can't store 1,000 data points in your list. You can store up to 999 though. Okay. So here's a quick trick. I'm getting sick of retyping in all these commands. So if I hit second followed by the enter key, it brings up the last thing I typed. If I hit second followed by the enter key again, it brings up the thing before that. So before, I had rand int 0, 1, 100. Well, now, I'm going to scroll up using the cursor. Now I want to do 999 flips. So I'm going to change that 100 to a 999. And I want to restore the results in list 1. So now I'm flipping the coin 999 times. And it's going to take a while for a calculator to do this. It's got to think very hard. These calculators are a little out of date. Your cell phone is probably much more powerful than this and would have no problem putting 999 zeros or ones in a list. But I don't know, we're going old school in this class, so still thinking, I think. Is it? Oh, there we go. Okay, never mind. It looks like it's done. Okay. Now let's see what happens. I'm going to take the sum of the list. I'm going to do second stat here, go over to sum. I want to do the sum of list 1. I got 485. So Bob flipped his coin 999 times. He got heads 485 times in 999 flips. So if you do 485 and you divide by 999, hit enter, you get 48.55% if you round.